Welcome to Safe Haven Radio. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that many of you watching may be experiencing the exhausting roller coaster of mood swings, those unpredictable emotional shifts that can make you feel like you're not in control of your own feelings. One moment you might feel relatively stable, and then suddenly you're overwhelmed by sadness, anger, or anxiety without any clear trigger. Please know that you're not alone in this experience, and what you're going through is more common than you might think. Today, we're going to explore the fascinating neuroscience behind mood swings and, more importantly, I'll share evidence-based techniques that can help you regain a sense of emotional balance. Before we begin, I want to be clear that while these methods are backed by solid research and have helped many people, they're not a substitute for professional mental health care. If you're experiencing severe mood swings that significantly impact your daily life, please consider reaching out to a mental health professional who can provide personalized support. What I'm sharing today comes from the latest research in neuroscience and psychology, including groundbreaking studies from 2024 that have revolutionized our understanding of how the brain regulates emotions. Remember, there's no pressure to implement everything you'll hear today. Take what resonates with you, go at your own pace, and be gentle with yourself as you explore these techniques. Change takes time, and every small step forward is valuable progress. Let me share some remarkable scientific findings that might help you understand what's happening in your brain during mood swings. A research team at a major university recently made a breakthrough discovery. They were able to separate, for the first time, the brain activity involved in generating emotions from the activity involved in regulating them. This research revealed specific areas in the anterior prefrontal cortex and higher-level cortical regions that act as your brain's emotional control center. What's particularly encouraging is that people who can better activate these emotion regulation regions show significantly more resilience to negative experiences and better overall mental health. This isn't about being born with a better brain. These are skills that can be developed through practice. The study found that targeted interventions could strengthen these brain regions within 8 to 12 weeks, demonstrating our brain's remarkable capacity for change at any age. Another fascinating discovery involves our neurotransmitter systems. Research has shown that receptors for serotonin, particularly the 5-HT2A receptor, along with cannabinoid and opioid receptors, are highly concentrated in these emotion regulation areas. This helps explain why certain medications can be effective for mood disorders, but it also shows us that we can influence these same systems through behavioral interventions. A comprehensive analysis of multiple studies involving over 1,000 participants found that specific therapeutic techniques, particularly those from dialectical behavior therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, can reduce mood swing frequency by up to 65% after 12 weeks of consistent practice. What's even more impressive is that these improvements tend to last, unlike medication alone, which often loses effectiveness over time. These behavioral changes create lasting neural pathways that continue to support emotional stability. It's important to note that current research suggests mood swings can have various causes, from genetic factors to life experiences to hormonal changes. There's still much we don't fully understand about the complexity of human emotions. However, what we do know is that regardless of the cause, our brains have an incredible capacity for adaptation and regulation that we can harness through specific techniques. Now, let's explore some practical methods you can start using today. I'll share several evidence-based techniques, but remember, you don't need to do all of them. Start with one that feels manageable and build from there. The first technique is called the 2-minute breathing reset, and it's based on research showing that controlled breathing directly activates those prefrontal cortex regulation regions I mentioned earlier. When you notice your mood beginning to shift, maybe you feel irritation rising or sadness creeping in, immediately engage in box breathing. Here's how. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts, hold your breath for 4 counts, breathe out through your mouth for 4 counts, and hold empty for 4 counts. Repeat this cycle for 2 minutes. Research shows this simple practice activates your emotional regulation centers within 90 seconds. The key is to practice this 3 times daily at set times, not just during emotional moments. By doing this regularly when you're calm, you're building and strengthening the neural pathway, making it easier to access during challenging times. If 4 counts feels too long, start with 3 or even 2. The important thing is finding a rhythm that works for you without causing stress. The second method involves cognitive reappraisal, a technique that studies show can reduce emotional intensity by 40 to 60%. When you notice strong emotions arising, pause and try to reframe the situation from 3 different perspectives. First, imagine you're a neutral observer watching the situation from outside. What would they see? Second, think about how your best friend would view this situation if they were giving you advice. Third, imagine yourself 5 years from now looking back on this moment. How significant will it seem? This isn't about denying your feelings or forcing positivity. It's about expanding your perspective to see situations more fully. Research from brain imaging studies shows that this practice actually reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, while increasing activity in those prefrontal regulation areas. To strengthen this skill, try writing down 1 reappraisal each day, even for minor frustrations. This builds your reappraisal muscle for when you really need it. The third technique is mindful emotion labeling, which might sound simple but has profound effects on the brain. When you're experiencing an emotion, name it as specifically as possible. Instead of just saying, "I feel bad," try, "I'm feeling frustrated about the delay," or, "I'm experiencing disappointment about the cancelled plans." Brain imaging studies have shown that this simple act of precise labeling can reduce amygdala activity by up to 50%. Keep a list of emotion words on your phone, words like frustrated, disappointed, anxious, overwhelmed, irritated, melancholic, restless. The more precise you can be, the more effective this technique becomes. It's like your brain goes, "Oh, we've identified what this is, we can stop sounding the alarm so loudly." Practice this throughout your day, even with positive emotions. "I'm feeling content after that good conversation," or, "I'm experiencing anticipation about the weekend." For moments when emotions feel overwhelming, there's a technique from dialectical behavior therapy called TIPP. This stands for temperature, intense exercise, paced breathing, and progressive muscle relaxation. When you're in emotional crisis, maybe crying uncontrollably or feeling rage, splash very cold water on your face or hold an ice pack to your cheeks. The cold temperature activates your dive response, which immediately shifts your nervous system. Follow this with 60 seconds of intense movement, jumping jacks, running in place, or rapid squats. This burns off the adrenaline and stress hormones flooding your system. Then move into paced breathing where your exhale is longer than your inhale, perhaps breathing in for 4 counts and out for 6. Finally, progressively tense and release your muscle groups. Studies show this combination can interrupt an emotional spiral within 5 minutes. However, please note that if you have any cardiovascular conditions, consult with your doctor before using the cold water or intense exercise components. Building daily emotion regulation habits is crucial for long-term stability. Research has identified 3 simple practices that, when done together, can reduce mood swing severity by up to 70%. First, morning meditation for just 10 minutes increases prefrontal cortex activity throughout your entire day. This doesn't have to be complicated, simply sitting quietly and focusing on your breath, using a guided meditation app, or even mindful walking can work. Second, keep an evening gratitude journal for 5 minutes before bed. Write 3 specific things you're grateful for from that day. Research shows this practice literally rewires your brain's negativity bias over time. Be specific. Instead of, "I'm grateful for my family," try, "I'm grateful for the laugh I shared with my sister over our childhood memory." Third, do a 3-minute body scan at midday. Simply pause wherever you are, close your eyes if possible, and mentally scan from the top of your head down to your toes, noticing any areas of tension or sensation. This maintains emotional awareness throughout your day and helps you catch emotional shifts earlier when they're easier to manage. Finally, create what I call an emotion regulation toolkit. Over the next 2 weeks, track activities that consistently improve your mood. These might be taking a walk, calling a friend, listening to specific music, doing a creative activity, or playing with a pet. Once you've identified 5 reliable mood boosters, schedule them proactively. If you know Monday meetings are stressful, schedule a mood-boosting activity for Monday evening. Research shows that proactive regulation is 3 times more effective than trying to manage emotions reactively after they've already intensified. Remember, these techniques require practice. You might not notice dramatic changes immediately, and that's completely normal. Your brain needs time to build these new neural pathways. Be patient with yourself. If you try a technique and it doesn't work perfectly, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong or that it won't work for you. It just means you're human and you're learning. To summarize what we discussed today, let me share the key points. First, your prefrontal cortex has powerful control over emotional regulation that can be strengthened through practice. Second, box breathing activates these regulation centers immediately and builds long-term resilience. Third, cognitive reappraisal can reduce emotional intensity by half when practiced regularly. Fourth, mindful emotion labeling calms your amygdala instantly, the more specific, the better. Fifth, the TIPP technique interrupts emotional spirals within minutes for crisis moments. Sixth, daily practices including meditation, gratitude, and body scans can rewire your brain permanently for better emotional stability. As we close, I want you to know that having mood swings doesn't mean you're weak or broken. Your brain is doing its best to protect you and help you navigate a complex world. With patience, practice, and self-compassion, you can develop greater emotional balance. Start with just one technique today, perhaps the 2-minute breathing reset, and see how it feels. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. Progress, not perfection, is what matters. If today's content provided any support or insight, please consider hitting the like button. It helps others who might be struggling find this information. And if you'd like to continue learning about mental health and well-being, please subscribe to Safe Haven Radio. We're here every week with evidence-based content to support your journey. May your heart feel a little lighter today. Thank you for listening to Safe Haven Radio, and please take good care of yourself. Please remember that this content is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for professional mental health treatment. If you're experiencing thoughts of self-harm or severe mood episodes, please reach out to a mental health professional or crisis helpline immediately. You deserve support, and help is available.